The sun had just begun to dip below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the endless stretch of ocean. It was supposed to be the perfect family vacation. The Brooks family had boarded the luxury cruise ship, Ocean Dreamer, with excitement in their hearts. 2 weeks at sea, full of laughter, adventure, and memories that would last a lifetime. But what they didn't know was that one moment would shatter everything, and their lives would never be the same again. Emily and Ethan, the Brooks twins, were only 8 years old. They were inseparable, curious, energetic, and always up for exploring. With their matching backpacks and identical dimples, they became little celebrities on board the ship. Passengers adored them. Crew members would wave and smile as they ran through the halls, always giggling, always holding hands. To anyone watching, they were just two happy kids having the time of their lives. But then, on the 5th night of the cruise, everything changed. It was a formal dinner night. Parents dressed in their finest. Music played softly in the background, and the dining room sparkled under the chandeliers. The twins had eaten early, like most kids did, and had gone back to the kids' activity lounge, just a few decks below. At least, that's what everyone believed. When their mother, Rachel Brooks, returned to pick them up, she was told something no parent ever wants to hear. "We thought they were with you. The twins were gone." At first, there was confusion, then panic. The cruise staff launched a full search. Every hallway, every closet, every lifeboat was checked. The ship's security footage was reviewed for hours, but there was nothing. No sign of Emily or Ethan leaving the lounge, no sight of them on the upper decks, and no explanation. It was as if they had simply vanished into thin air. The captain made an emergency announcement. The ship slowed. Passengers were asked to stay in their cabins while the crew conducted a floor-to-ceiling search. Dogs were brought in when the ship docked at the next port. Coast guards combed the surrounding waters. Still, no trace. Days turned into weeks. The media caught hold of the story, and soon the faces of the missing twins were everywhere. On newspapers, TV screens, social media. "Twins vanish on cruise ship" became a headline that haunted millions. Investigations continued. Conspiracy theories grew. Some believed it was a kidnapping. Others suggested they might have fallen overboard. But with no evidence, no witnesses, and no leads, the case slowly began to fade. Just another unsolved mystery, lost to the sea. Rachel and her husband Tom were devastated. Their world had collapsed, but they never stopped searching. For 10 long months, they refused to believe their children were truly gone. Rachel would sit by the shore every day, staring at the waves, hoping, praying that one day the ocean would give them back. And then, it did. It was early morning when a fisherman near a quiet stretch of beach noticed something odd tangled in seaweed. A large suitcase. Old, soaked, weather-beaten. It had clearly been drifting for a long time. He dragged it to shore and called the local police. When they arrived and carefully opened it, what they found inside turned the case upside down all over again. Inside the suitcase were clothes, tiny clothes, damp but neatly folded, a pair of small shoes, a toy rabbit missing one ear, and tucked between the layers, a drawing in childlike handwriting, 2 stick figures holding hands, labeled "Me and Ethan." The signature at the bottom was smudged, but just visible. Emily B. The suitcase was sent for forensic testing. Investigators were called back in. The Brooks family was contacted, and the question that had remained unanswered for almost a year suddenly resurfaced. Had Emily and Ethan been alive all this time? This discovery reignited the case and brought fresh hope, but also new fears. Who packed the suitcase? Why was it so carefully arranged? If someone had hurt the twins, why return their belongings now? Or was someone trying to send a message? As authorities reopened the investigation, strange new details began to emerge. A passenger manifest from the cruise was found to be missing. One cabin log. A crew member had mysteriously quit the day the ship docked, and an anonymous postcard had been sent to the Brookses' old address just weeks earlier, with only 5 words. They were never truly gone. Now the hunt for answers has begun again. As the waves continue to crash against the shore, one thing is clear. Something happened aboard that cruise ship. Something that someone wanted buried. But the truth, just like the ocean, always finds a way to rise. And as for Emily and Ethan, where are they now? That is the part of the story we're going to uncover together. Rachel Brooks stood on the edge of the beach, her bare feet sinking into the cold sand as she stared at the suitcase, lying just a few feet away under a plastic tarp. 10 months. 10 months of searching, crying, hoping, and hurting. And now this. A part of her wanted to run to it, hold it, cling to the toy rabbit and the clothes, as if touching them might bring her children back. But another part was terrified. Why now? Why here? And who had kept them all this time? Detective Leon Ramirez, who had been the lead investigator during the initial disappearance, returned to the case reluctantly. He remembered the sleepless nights, the dead ends, and how haunted Rachel had looked even back then. But something about this suitcase didn't sit right with him. It felt intentional, almost staged. The contents were too clean, too carefully arranged. It was more than just lost luggage washing ashore. It was a message. As the suitcase was analyzed in a lab, more unsettling details came to light. DNA confirmed the clothes had belonged to Emily and Ethan, but forensic tests showed traces of pine and clay, elements not commonly found on the cruise ship or anywhere at sea. This suggested that the suitcase had spent time on land, possibly in a forest or a rural area, before being dumped into the water. The ship company, Ocean Dreamer Cruises, cooperated again, though with clear discomfort. Their reputation had already suffered, and reopening the case meant fresh media attention. Their internal records from the voyage revealed that one staff member, a junior cleaner named Pavel Novak, had left unexpectedly at the next port after the disappearance. His resignation had been approved without question. Just a note saying, "Family emergency." No one had contacted him since. When police traced his file, they discovered it was mostly fake. The ID, the address, even his references, none of it led anywhere real. Meanwhile, Tom Brooks, quiet and broken since the loss of his children, finally found his voice again. He began joining Rachel at every press conference, pleading for new witnesses, pushing the police harder. But the pressure wasn't just external. Inside their home, tension simmered. Tom believed the children had been kidnapped. Rachel still clung to the idea that someone on the ship had helped them escape, perhaps even to protect them from something worse. Their theories divided them, but their grief kept them close. A parallel thread emerged when a teenage girl named Ava came forward with a memory that had long haunted her. She'd been on the same cruise with her parents and remembered seeing the twins near the lower decks late at night, long after the kids' lounge had closed. She said she had seen them talking to a man wearing a staff uniform, but couldn't remember his face. All she recalled was a green bracelet he wore, the kind given only to crew members with private access to maintenance areas. She never thought much of it until she saw the twins' photos on the news months later. This lead triggered a new investigation into the ship's blueprints and secret compartments used by maintenance staff, small crawl spaces, storage units, and access tunnels that passengers never knew existed. It also revealed something chilling. A service corridor near the kids' lounge had a blind spot in the surveillance system, a place where someone could easily slip in or out unnoticed. That corridor connected directly to the lower deck Ava had described. With this, Detective Ramirez built a working theory. Someone familiar with the ship, possibly posing as crew, had lured the twins to that corridor, taken them through the maintenance system, and smuggled them off at the next port. The timing matched Pavel Novak's disappearance. But where did he go? And more importantly, where were the children now? As investigators dug deeper, a small cabin rental in a remote Croatian forest turned up under a false name. The place had been rented for 6 months and recently vacated. Inside, the walls were covered with drawings, childlike scribbles of trees, boats, and a little white dog named Nina. The toys left behind matched ones Rachel had described the twins playing with. A pair of twin beds, each with blankets, embroidered with an E, but no children, no signs of struggle. Only one thing remained. A note scrolled on the back of a cereal box that read, "They said we had to be quiet. They said Mom would be mad." The case had now become a global mystery. News outlets ran constant updates. Twins vanished on cruise ship. Are they still alive? Flooded headlines. Online forums exploded with theories. Some said the children were taken by a child trafficking ring. Others believed they'd been hidden for protection, maybe by someone trying to save them from something no one had yet uncovered. And, just when it seemed things couldn't get more complicated, a voice message was left on Rachel's phone at 2:17 a.m. The call came from a blocked number. It lasted only 6 seconds. A child's whisper, "Mommy, we're okay. Please don't. Stop looking." That voicemail tore through Rachel's heart like lightning. She played it over and over again, analyzing every breath, every sound. The voice sounded like Emily's. But how could that be? Was it real or a cruel prank? Now, with the world watching and the stakes higher than ever, all signs point toward a truth that's been buried too long. Somewhere out there, Emily and Ethan are waiting. But who has them? Why were they taken in the first place? And why, after 10 months, is someone finally reaching out? Something is coming. A secret about that cruise. About what really happened on the 5th night aboard the Ocean Dreamer. And the closer they get to the truth, the more dangerous it becomes. The whisper in the voicemail haunted Rachel every second. She barely slept. Tom installed trackers on their phones, and the police tapped every incoming call, hoping the mystery caller would try again. For days, there was silence. Then, a break came from an unexpected place. A retired dock worker in Dubrovnik, Croatia, called the tip line after seeing the twins' story on a local news report. He remembered something strange. A man and 2 small children had arrived at his dock one evening about 6 months earlier. The kids looked scared, quiet, and wore matching blue jackets. The man had a green bracelet. When shown a photo of Pavel Novak, the dock worker hesitated, then nodded. "That's him," he said. That single moment cracked open everything. Interpol was alerted. Using shipping logs and satellite tracking, investigators discovered that a private fishing vessel had left that dock the same night and travelled south along the coast. The boat was later found abandoned at a marina near the border of Montenegro. Local authorities there were contacted, and a cabin in the mountains, rented under a false name, was raided at dawn. Inside they found the man they were looking for. Pavel Novak, real name Anton Karic, but he was not alone. Emily and Ethan were there. They were alive. When the agents entered the small cabin, the twins were huddled together under a blanket, scared but unharmed. A policewoman crouched down and said, "It's okay now. You're safe." Emily reached out first, her voice barely a whisper. "Can we go home now?" Rachel and Tom flew out immediately. The reunion was both joyful and heartbreaking. Rachel dropped to her knees when she saw her children. They ran into her arms, crying. "I knew you'd come," Ethan whispered. "I knew you'd find us." But the truth that followed stunned everyone. Anton Karish was not just a rogue staff member. He had once worked with a private child protection group, off the record, underground and unregulated. According to him, he had seen something on the eye, a chip that alarmed him, a group of adults showing suspicious interest in the children. He claimed he had overheard conversations suggesting the twins were being watched. Fearing something terrible was about to happen, he took matters into his own hands. He said he smuggled the children off the ship to protect them, planning to return them once he knew they were safe. But then he panicked. When the world believed the twins were dead or kidnapped, he didn't know how to come forward without being arrested. Anton said the suitcase had been his attempt to return something to Rachel, a sign that the children were okay. But by the time it reached the shore, he was already deep into hiding. It was a messy truth. Legally, Anton had kidnapped the children, but his motives blurred the lines between criminal and savior. Authorities wrestled with how to handle it. In the end, he was arrested, but cooperated fully, leading to the exposure of a larger network of dangerous individuals operating under the guise of tourism. His actions, though reckless, likely saved Emily and Ethan from something far worse. The twins went through months of therapy. They spoke in pieces, their memories foggy from fear and confusion. But they never said Anton hurt them. In fact, they called him Mr. Karish and described how he taught them to plant vegetables, read stories, and even kept a journal of their days. Still, the trauma ran deep. Rachel and Tom chose to move far away from the coast, settling in a quieter place, where the waves couldn't remind them of what they almost lost. Emily began drawing again. Happy pictures this time. Ethan took to planting flowers in the backyard. Life slowly returned, but it would never be the same. As for the Ocean Dreamer, the cruise company faced heavy lawsuits. Security protocols were overhauled. Hidden surveillance gaps were exposed, and parents everywhere were reminded of a chilling truth. Sometimes, even the safest places hide the darkest secrets. In the end, the mystery of the missing twins was solved, but not in the way anyone expected. The ocean didn't take them. People did, but people also brought them back. This story became more than a headline. It became a reminder of how fragile safety can be, how powerful a parent's love is, and how even in the darkest moments, hope can survive. Because when Emily whispered, "We're okay," she meant more than just safe. She meant found, and that is the story of the twins who vanished on a cruise ship, only to be discovered 10 months later because someone refused to stop looking.